How's it going? Kevin Cleary here. This is not going to be the view from the pew. I'm not in the auditorium sitting in a pew, and so that ought to be a first clue. But I'm going to do something a little different and share some videos about some of the interests that I have. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One, it's neat to talk about your interests, and two, I hope to draw some people in by sharing my interests in other things that maybe some people will share, and then branch out from that and direct them over toward some of the View from the Pew videos. And of course, there's going to be some overlap. If I'm talking about things I'm interested in, obviously I'm very interested in the God who created this world and everything in it, and so I'll be talking a little bit about that as well. But some other stuff. And so this video serves sort of as an introduction to that. And I want to talk about kind of an approach to life or a philosophy of why I do one of the things that I do, and maybe you may want to do too. And that is to carry a pocket knife. I always carry a pocket knife. I started when I was quite young and have carried one for a long time. I remember it was one of my uncles who gave me a pocket knife when I was quite young. And then when I was growing up, Roy, my dad, always carried a pocket knife. And so there's that influence as well. But I found it so handy. I've been so glad that I carry a knife so many times that I wanted to share it with you. And so I carry a knife, and many people who you'd ask would say they carry a knife because of convenience, because of utility. There's so often during the day that you go, man, I really needed something to cut this, and then you've got it. Whether it be opening the bag of milk, peeling a piece of fruit, cutting up vegetables, opening mail, opening a package, all of those things you're so lucky when you've got a knife. And even just today, I can give you at least 3 examples. It's only 11 o'clock, and I've used my knife to cut some rope. I've used it to cut up a piece of fruit. I've used it to open a package. Just generally handy to have around. And so that's the main reason to carry a knife, just because of general utility, just of convenience. There are some other reasons, though, and I want to talk a little bit about preparedness and safety. Preparedness, what I'm saying with that is, if you kind of just use your imagination for a second and imagine some of the bad situations you could get in. Car breaks down, power goes out, lost, any kind of thing that you could think of where, man, I'm in real trouble here. And now ask yourself, in that situation, would you rather have a knife or not have a knife? I'm going to suggest in virtually any situation that I can think of, I'd go, yeah, I'd rather have a knife. I may not need it specifically or directly even to deal with that, but general preparedness for life, it's helpful to have a knife with you for a lot of things. Now, the second aspect of this is safety. And what I mean by safety is, let's say, for example, a car accident and someone needs to be cut out of a seatbelt. Or I know a story of a guy who was caught in a PTO. And even in telling the story, he said, I got a piece of my shirt caught in the PTO. The first thing I said to myself was, where's my knife? Reached in my pocket, no pocket knife. And that story alone is enough to make some people go, yeah, I'm going to carry a knife. So safety in that sense, but also for like first aid and for, even if it's something as small as taking out a splinter. If you have a sharp knife, I've used a sharp knife way more often and to much better effect than a safety pin for taking out a splinter. Just something as minor as that. It could also be, cutting clothing away from a wound or cutting it for a tourniquet or any number of things that you would want first aid related stuff. Knife is very, very handy. So, for safety purposes. Now, one thing you notice I didn't say, and I didn't say it for a reason, is carrying a knife for personal defense safety. That is not a legitimate reason to carry a knife in Canada. If you were, let's say, questioned by a police officer and you said, yeah, I carry this knife for self-defense, they would take it away because you're not allowed to carry a weapon for self-defense in Canada. If you have a knife on you and get in a physical altercation with someone, even if it stays in your pocket, you could be charged with assault with a weapon because you had the potential to use the weapon. I know that sounds insane, but if you're going to carry a knife, you need to know that. The chances of getting in a fight with someone I know are minimal. But just FYI, lastly, in an absolutely dire situation, if it's your life or someone else's, there may be a time to utilize that knife, but you need to know that's a very last-ditch thing, and there are all kinds of other moral and ethical considerations that need to come into that discussion, so maybe for another video. Anyway, now that I've talked about why to carry a knife and all the good reasons that I think there are for doing so, I want to give you some examples of knives that I have and have carried, do carry. I don't often carry all three of these at once, but I brought them for this video. This is my Cold Steel Code 4. This is a fantastic knife. Very, very tough, very, very hardy, very light. You put this thing in your pocket, you can see how thin it is. You barely even know it's there, even though it's a very, very large, capable tool. So that's one example of a knife you could carry. Pretty big for most people, even pretty big for me. The only thing that saves it from that is its lightness and its thinness. So it carries nicer than knives that are much, much smaller. Another example to do the exact opposite extreme is this little Leatherman style, and it's CS, which means it's got some scissors inside of it. So pretty handy. I use those scissors today, actually. And this is so small and so light that you never even know. In fact, a lot of times I keep this on my keys and don't give it a second thought. It just happens to be there if I were to ever have use for it. Another very different example from those last two is here's a Victorinox Swiss Army knife. Lots of little tools on here. Very handy. People, this is like sort of the iconic pocket knife, but you do need to know this thing is heavy. It weighs considerably more than both of these. In fact, it weighs more than both of these put together. And so if you're going to carry it, although you'd say, yeah, the blade is smaller, it's probably not as imposing as the Cold Steel, this thing is inconvenient to carry around. I'd almost recommend it for like a bag knife. Stick it in your backpack or something like that and use it for that application. Anyway, those are some of the knives I carry. That's some of the reasons I carry them. And I hope this video is interesting to you. And if it was, go ahead and check out some of the other videos on this channel. The view from the pew are the ones I'm particularly passionate about. And so I hope those are helpful as well in a more theological sense, while this one may be helpful in a practical sense. I'm Kevin Cleary, and we'll talk to you later.